All right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of the Instagram Collectors Interview Series. Really excited because the hobby in general is excited. We've got a huge release coming out tomorrow of probably the most beloved release Upper Deck has every year, usually every year. So I think a lot of people are really stoked. The cup is on its way, and I couldn't think of anyone better to have on here than the guy that I go to learn about the cup and the OG cup collector, and that is Mitch. What's up, man?
Hey Matt, how's it going?
Good, really good to have you back on here, dude. I know it's been a hot minute, but your excitement's got to be. I mean, even though you mentioned before, like not really collecting a whole lot of cards, you got to be pretty excited that we're getting a new cup release finally, huh?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, from my perspective, I think it's good for the hobby to generate excitement around the product itself.
Right,
So when you go this long without actually having a release of it, people, everyone wants like what's hot right now. And if there hasn't been a cup release in a couple of years, then it kind of, you know, goes to the back burner a little bit compared
right.
to when you have it every year. There's always a fresh cup set. So I think it's good. I think it's good for all years of the cup to regularly have the brand reinforced each year.
Right. Well, and we've talked on the roundtable before too. I mean, the cup is a lot of times where like the pinnacle of collecting goes, right? So many people might wait just for that one card that they're going to get of their rookie or their player that they know is coming down the pike and looking forward to that. So to not have that now for what, 2 years up
Yeah, pretty
until
much.
now, I mean, that's really tough. And so hopefully you can notice. I don't know if you've seen other releases, but Upper Deck is starting to get more stuff out and catch back up, and so we can only hope that this is going to keep that going. But I mean, how are you feeling about just the release itself? I mean, how are you feeling? You got that amazing Facebook group, which we're going to mention toward the end here, that you started. A lot of really cool posts in there, a lot of excitement. Are you feeling like this is like the peak of excitement as of the last year or two in the hockey hobby?
Um, I don't know if I would call it the peak of excitement because I think a lot of there is a lot of excitement with the release. There's also a lot of frustration with the release. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people are unhappy that the release is coming with the rookies being in their third season.
Yeah.
Something like I've talked about a lot. Like, at what point is it no longer a rookie card? If they released a McDavid card today, but it was with the 15-16 rookie class, would that still be a rookie card? In my
Yeah.
opinion, no. I'm not saying that the cup product that comes out tomorrow is the same thing as that, but it does make you think, like, at what point would you no longer consider it a rookie card? I mean, luckily I don't collect rookies at all, so I don't have to worry about it too much.
Right.
But I think there's a lot of people that are starting to kind of ask that question.
Right. It definitely is a weird thing to think about. I remember seeing your post about how many update cards there are, because that's the only like solo card that Marc-Andre Fleury has besides the printing plate 101 booklet thing. He's got an update foundations like jersey auto. Like, so they never got that in there last year. And I was looking through how old are some of those updates. Didn't you tell me that? Didn't you post there was one from like 10 years ago or
Yeah,
something like
so
that?
the oldest one I saw is actually from 15 years ago. There's a
That's
Ryan
crazy.
Callahan 0708, all his printing plates they put in there. There's also a limited logos from 0809 the cup that they put in there, Marian Hossa,
Oh wow.
which is, as a set collector, imagine finishing that set, 12 years ago, and then you
Right.
find out today that there's a new card. Like, luckily there weren't any updates from sets that I've put together, but I'd be super frustrated if that happened.
Right.
So, you
Well,
know,
it's probably both ways, though, right? Like you're frustrated, but then you're like, "Oh, cool! I have a card to chase." I don't know if that's something that it would be exciting anymore after all the work you've put in. Like for those that don't know, Mitch has put together one of the most impressive sets to put together, and we've talked about it, right? Like it would be impossible to do now. So if you started to do that right now, it would almost be impossible to put it together. I mean, you'd have to know so many different people in the hobby and have all those connections and to see all the work you've put in. Imagine having to add to it. I imagine it would be a little frustrating more than anything else. Yeah, I don't know, man. That's tricky, but to hop right into it. I mean, you've what's been really cool is just not your involvement in their Instagram community with all the cards that you share, your journey building your sets, but also, just your ability to reach out and willingness to help people, because there's so many people that have cup questions, and it seems like, at least from what I've seen, is people look forward to coming to you to ask those questions. Has that been something that you've really enjoyed about the Instagram community?
Yeah, I know, a lot of people probably, and not that they'd be wrong to feel this way, but if they got bombarded with questions all the time, they'd probably be pretty annoyed. But for me, I actually do really enjoy people coming to me with questions about it, because that means that I get to share, my favorite thing, which is these cup cards, and I get to explain to them various components of it that's not common knowledge. Unfortunately, it's not something you can just Google for the most part. I mean, you can look up a
Right.
checklist, but even those aren't entirely reliable. So when
Right.
people, if I can spread the excitement of the cards and the hobby in general, to me that's a win as someone who I see myself as being in the hobby forever. So if I can help grow that as much as I can, that feels like a win for me.
Oh, for sure, man. And that's the thing too, is you making that Facebook page and creating that group. It's really brought a lot of cup collectors together. I think out of any set that's out there, that's probably like the most highly collected, like, just set of cards, and most desirable set of cards. I know when I got into collecting Flurry, I keyed in on the cup. I think at some point I realized these are the pinnacle of collecting this player. You know what I mean? They're the best looking cards, the best designed. Obviously, a lot of people want them, and so I knew that it would be a safe investment. But it's been really neat to see that. Have you thought, just off that topic, Mitch, have you ever thought about, talk about the knowledge and how hard it is to, like, really find substantial knowledge on any set from any year from the cup? Like you said, a checklist isn't always right. You found that out yourself. Have you ever thought about putting like a museum or an online encyclopedia together of everything? I know it'd be a lot of work and people would help you out, but have you ever thought of doing something like that where all the knowledge of the cup releases would be in one place?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a great idea.
A lot of work.
Now yeah, it does sound
Yeah.
like a lot of work. Um, I think it would be a great tool for the hobby. I mean, I mean, kind of a similar thing that I thought about. Like every like video game or TV show or movie, there's like some kind of wiki for it.
Yeah.
There's not one for hockey cards or any sports cards
No.
that I know of. I mean, I haven't looked it up, but I can't imagine that one exists. And if it does, then no one knows about it. But that seems like that would be a great resource for the hobby, is to have a
Right.
dot wiki for, I mean, for all sports cards. I could hopefully contribute to hockey cards, but I think that
Right.
would be an amazing resource. I don't know, what would be entailed in that, but I think everyone could stand to benefit from that, because I don't have all the answers. I might know more than a lot of people, but even
Right.
among cup cards, there's still a lot of stuff I don't know. So that would be a very cool collaborative thing. If the hobby could put that together, I don't know how hard it would be, but it sounds like a great idea.
Well, I only ask because when I was collecting 90s inserts, when I first got back into the hobby, you can imagine, like, obviously there's the PMGs, essential credentials. There's all like the big boys, and they were even popular back then. But there's so many unreleased cards and stuff that I had no idea what I was looking at on eBay. There is a website called baseballcardpedia.com, and I met the creator, and there's another guy named Ronnie Vallejo, big Criffy collector, that have collaborated and have built this entire encyclopedia for baseball cards. And you'll find like little tidbits from Mike Kramer when we interviewed him. They put it in there about print runs of cards and all this stuff like that. For hockey cards, that would be amazing if there was a way that we could start with the cup and then kind of build out. Because I would love to just go there and see, like, oh yeah, the print run of this Flurry is only 35 or something, like, somehow finding out all that information and having a place to go put it. I mean, just think about your signature patch set that you put together. Didn't you say there was like 4 or 5 cards that like weren't even on the checklist and you had to find them after the fact?
Yeah, I thought there were five, and then I found a sixth one last year after not seeing it for 17 years.
Oh man, I mean, Yeah, that's got to be strange for sure. I just wanted to let you know who's here in the comments. We got Name hanging out, and Al, of course, is here. Great to see you, Al. I don't know who this is. This must be a friend of
Yeah,
yours?
it's a sports card spot on Instagram.
Oh, awesome. Okay, I'll have to go check that out. I think I follow that though. I think I do.
He's got an amazing lighting collection.
Awesome. Definitely got to go check that out. And then this person said that was a good idea, but then also, yeah, this is a big one. We've had some really interesting discussions about that. So yeah, it would be great to see like here's the OG card, a place to go check that out. So cool. Well, I'm kind of curious too. You know, like with the new release coming out here, Mitch, a lot of excitement. A lot of people kind of get used to shiny new toy. You know, but you have just remained focused on some of the original releases from the Cup. What is it about those cards that allows you to key in on them and keep wanting to collect them, as opposed to saying, "Oh, here's a new design that nobody's ever seen before. I'm going to go for this."
Yeah. So there's a number of components when I think about what I want my collection to be. I mean, ultimately, and I think this is probably the case for most people, but the core of my collection is really centered around nostalgia. So back when 0506 the Cup came out, and then the years following that are probably when I don't want to say most excited about the hobby, but when I was like, I was only a kid when 0506 the Cup came out, but it was so cool to me seeing these cards surface and go on the internet. And to me, they were so much cooler than all of the other cards that I had seen before that, that maybe if those cards didn't exist, I wouldn't have developed such an intense passion for the hobby that I have. I mean, before the Cup came out, I was a collector, and I had a lot of cards, and it was a big part of my life. But I think when it came out, something really, like, there was another gear that turned on, where I was like, okay, now I really want to just collect these. And at the time, um, outside of building the signature patch set, I also tried to collect all of the Martin Brodeur cards that came out of the Cup. So not everyone knows that I used to be like a Brodeur like super collector, but at one point I had like probably like 750 Brodeur cards. So I, outside of the signature patches, I had to have the limited logos and emblems of endorsement and the base and gold and patch and all that stuff. So, after that, I would say around like when 0910 the Cup came out, I thought the design was so much worse than 0809. Like, I thought that like the run of 0506 0809 was so good. Right. And then 0910 the Cup came out, and I'm just being honest. I really hated the designs so much that I was like, okay, maybe I'll try collecting some other stuff because the Cup isn't cool anymore. And that's when I really got into Ultimate and SP Authentic cards. And then it really honestly wasn't until I would say maybe 2018 when I felt like I just had too many different cards and I really wanted to focus my collection. And those were still always my favorite cards, were the early Cup cards. So, as I get, more into like, I don't know, further in my hobby journey, I find myself wanting to just focus on that.
That's awesome, man. Well, and do you have a few examples there? Obviously you do, but like, can you show us a few examples of like, show a card and say, okay, this is why it stands out above all the newer stuff that's come out. I mean, we've joked about 0910, right? Because that's one of my favorite years because Flurries and my favorite mask and all that. But you really talk about the difference between the two sets, and it's pretty clear when you start looking at the intricacies of the early designs.
Yeah, so I took out a few cards from the early Cup sets. Honestly, most of the cards I took out were not early Cup cards because I feel like those are the ones that people don't see too much.
Right.
So here's what I picked up recently from 0506 the Cup. This is a limited logos of Henrik Zetterberg. And what makes this card so outstanding to me is that it's numbered out of 7. So in the history of the Cup, there's only been 5 limited logos with single-digit print runs. I never thought I would own one, but our friend Tim, Red Wings Fan 11 on Instagram, got me in contact with a guy in Sweden who had this card, who hadn't touched cards in almost a decade, and we worked out a deal. And I actually got this card by meeting his wife in a lobby at a hotel she was staying at here. And it felt like some like underground drug deal. I like handed her like a stack of cash, and she handed me the card. But I was so excited to pick up this card because it's one of those cards you just think like, before this, no one had ever even seen one in almost 10 years because,
right.
Whoever has the other 6, they're just locked up. Like you just never see those limited logos that are that rare. The other 4 is 0506 Cam Neely is out of 4. Personally, I've never seen a copy of that card. And then there's a Daryl Sittler out of 5 or 6. And then 0708, there's a Gretzky out of 5. That one I actually managed to track down all 5 copies. On my Hall of Fame Instagram account, I have a little collage of all 5.
Nice.
And then the rarest limited logos ever is 0708 Guy Lafleur out of 3. So
have you seen a copy of that?
I've seen 2 copies. I've seen 2 out of the 3 copies.
Wow.
And they're mostly red. Like they're not very good patches, but it doesn't matter.
I'm kind of curious though, like all the limited logos that I have a flurry over the years, they're usually out of 25 or 50. So what's the reasoning behind the low numbers? Did some get damaged? Or did you find out what happened, or is that on purpose that they made them had made so few of them?
Yeah, so I don't know the reason for 0708, but I know that in 0506, most of the short prints are actually a result of running out of material.
Okay.
So that's why they're all like random numbers, and they are not the best players in the set. Yeah, like okay. Rick Nash, Cam Neely are 2 guys where pretty much all their cards in 0506 the Cup are short printed, not because those are 2 of the players in the set. So, it's interesting. I mean, in some ways, people might see that as worse because it's like, it seems more like put together, like maybe janky, you don't have these round numbers, but I think like those little nuances are kind of what to me makes the set really cool. It's not as cookie cutter. Like, okay, you got your McDavid out of 10, your Crosby out of 10. It's like there's so many little details that are not things that you think about conventionally. And to me, that makes the chase of finding these cards and learning about them to be a lot more exciting.
For sure. No, and I think it's just as exciting for somebody from the outside looking in to hear those little facts coming from you. Because I can nerd out about that kind of stuff all day, where it's like, wow, I mean, who'd have thought that was the case? Because when you're just collecting one player, you can, you don't really focus too much on all those other things that are going on with those releases. But that's pretty cool. That is exciting. And then this is Reed, by the way.
Oh, okay.
We know that. And then this is Kelvin. So we've got a few peeps here that we're used to hanging out with. Well, that's cool, man. I mean, it's especially the whole like the drug deal type passing it off to the other person like that. But that's a story you're never going to forget. Every time that card comes out, you're going to probably roll through that in your head real quick, and being able to tell it again will be fun. But you said you got some newer stuff out too. And one of my questions for you is, so you mentioned 0910. It's like, oh gosh, what are they doing here? Like, this is not my jam at all. From like 0910 on though, we've had like this chat a couple times. Like there are a few cards that you go, ooh, okay, this is something I do like. Do you have a few examples there of cards called like outliers that you do grab? You have grabbed from other sets?
I have a few. So the first thing I'll show is a set that I'm kind of passively putting together, and it is technically an exquisite set. So these are the 14-15 exquisite autographs. They're all out of 25. There's 15 of them. I have a couple. So that's Ovechkin, and then here's a Mike Bossy, and then here's a Ray Bork. And the reason that I really like these is because that's the first year that Exquisite was in hockey. And that 14-15 year, they just made it one cup subset. So the first 15 cards in the set are these autograph cards. So they're not even like an autograph insert. They're actually like on the back, it'll say 10. And then there's 15, and then card number 16 is card number 16 is actually the RPAs from the cup that are the exquisite ones. So like Leon Draisaitl's exquisite RPA is going to be in the same numbering as the back of these cards. So it's actually just one set. So to me, because I think the exquisite brand is so important, I think that these being the first ever hockey exquisite cards, if I can just get those first 15 autographs, and the checklist is, just like 15 of the best players that sign for Upper Deck. I think that'll be really cool and important to have. I actually just got a Bobby Orr recently on Twitter. That's on the way over here. So, so that's one example of a more modern cup cards that I have. And maybe to some people this is still like ancient cup cards, but to me it's newer. So here's another one. This is a 17-18 Le Cup dual signature patches of Nikita Kucherov and Steven Stamkos. And this is a card I bought in 2020, right before they repeated. And I always felt like, first of all, this is the only dual patch auto that these guys have. And I think at this point, I think it's not unreasonable to call that Lightning team a dynasty.
Yeah.
And for, there's only 15 copies of this card. I think this is a super important card. And it was very cheap at the time, but I kind of knew like, okay, this card is important, and the price was really good. So I was very happy to pick this card up. Since I bought it, I've had offers on it for like 5 times what I paid. So very happy to have that one. And then as a Panthers fan, I had to have this Jaromir Jagr limited logos. With the little Panther snout. So this is 16-17 the cup. He doesn't have too many Panther limited logos, so I felt like I just had to have one. I don't have too many Yager cards because he didn't sign in any of the cup years that I typically collect. He didn't sign in the cup until 12-13, so I just kind of felt like I had to have one. I might get another one because there's a guy who is really trying hard to pry this off of me, and he might be able to. And then there's a 15-16 limited logos of Nathan McKinnon. He's just another guy that I really believe in. Obviously, he doesn't have any cup cards from the years I collect, so the only way I can get his cards is by getting it from later years. So those are some of the newer cup cards that I have. But, it has to be a good price, great players, some kind of significance, and then maybe I'll pull a trigger on it if it's a cool enough card.
I think one thing collectors could all learn from you is the way that you find the significance of why you want to add a card to your collection. I think you're very calculated and not just like, that looks nice, I'll grab that. Like, that looks nice, I'll grab that. Oh, that's kind of cool, I'll grab that. You're very specific in what you are grabbing, and also kind of looking at, this is a great card to buy now, because if you wanted that dual autograph patch that you have there's no way you probably go grab it now, would you, at the price that it would probably command? Yeah, exactly. So I think that's one thing that I've learned from you since we've known each other, is kind of like just knowing when it's the right price to jump on it. Like, I think I sent you like, hey, this is just Flurry for this much. You're like, Matt, I want to buy it right now. I'm like, okay, that means I should buy it. It's just like, that's why I think, you've been a really big help to the hobby, because you enjoy people asking questions about cup card. How many questions do you think you get on a weekly basis just about the cup in Instagram? People asking value, like if a card exists, that type of stuff.
Well, it's definitely been ramped up recently. I think since I started the cup group, I've gotten a lot more. I would say I probably get around 10 a day.
Wow, a day?
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty cool. And what's been one of the, like, a question maybe that was asked that led you to see or even purchase a card that you're like, wow, I can't believe I'm finally able to see this card or know where this card is? Does that come up at all recently?
Yeah, sometimes people will be like, "Hey, I have this card. What do you think it's worth?" And it'll be some crazy card that I've never seen before. Um, so those are always cool. I mean, that's definitely a huge perk of, I guess, being more public, is that
Right.
people that have those types of cards that I want will think to come to me for it, which is, I mean, that's
Mhm.
a huge benefit that I'm very grateful for.
Right. Well, and again, going back to that earlier question, man, I think if you do decide that you want to do a wiki or an encyclopedia and maybe start with the cup before you were to like venture elsewhere, you'd be able to get an example of almost every single card. You know what I mean? Think about how cool that would be to be like, I want to know what the 0910 limited logo set looks like. And then boom, there it is. Like everybody's contributed their picture. It's got to be really cool just to see the amount of cool cards that you have the chance to see now. And yeah, that's been really cool. Reed wants to know. I'll ask this question real quick. Um, what is the you mentioned a couple cards. What couple cards are you going to be looking for?
So there's two cards that I would like to add, and I don't have any real expectations of actually acquiring either one of them. But if the price makes sense and I have the opportunity to buy them, the first one is the Legends of the NHL triple signature card. They have one this year of Hasek, Waugh, and Brodeur. So for
That's
those that
nice.
don't know, so those cards are actually a booklet and they're numbered out of 9. But before that card, there's only ever been one other on card triple autograph of those three players for reasons I don't really understand, because those players have always signed with Upper Deck as long as
Mhm.
they've been having signed cards. So you think that they put together the three best goalies probably ever um, on one card more than one
Yeah.
time, and it's actually a trilogy card that has the only triple autograph of those guys that's on card. There's a couple stickers, but
Yeah.
this will be the second ever on card one, and in my opinion, it looks a lot better than the trilogy card. So I'd love to add that card. The second card is the new subset, the I forgot the actual title of the subset, but the ones with the captain's patches with the C and the A.
Sure.
It's a booklet. So there's one of Barkov and Hubergo. And as a big Panthers fan, that seems like it would be an amazing card to have in my small Panthers collection. So hopefully
Pretty
that card
sick.
services and it's a reasonable price. I'd love to add that card.
Be really interesting to see how the group on Facebook, how that's going to go. If it's going to be like a flood of people trying to sell, if it's going to be a lot of people just saying, "Here's what I've gathered or what I picked up. Here's what I got from my box." And I think it's going to just lead to a lot of people in that group being able to track some of these cards down. It's kind of funny. I have to show this right here. um, do you have out either of those players? Yeah.
Yes.
All right, name just for you, dude.
That's for you, man. Actually, a crazy coincidence that this card was on my desk right now. But here's a really nice Jonathan Chichu 0607 limited logos.
Now,
So
as a big turquoise fan, I have to say, man, that card, the Sharks patches look so nice. Ugh, it looks so nice.
yeah, Nam got really lucky there. It's honestly a crazy coincidence.
What were you taking pictures of cards, or like how did it end up on the
No,
desk?
I bought a really big collection of 0607 limited logos recently, and I don't even have like the storage space for them yet. So
Okay.
they're just on my desk, and that one happened to be on the top of the stack.
This is. Do you remember what trilogy set that triple auto is in?
I believe it is 0607 trilogy. If you go to House of Cards on Instagram, he
Mhm.
recently posted a copy of it. It's numbered out of 25.
Okay, let me pull that up real quick here. Um, since we're on this topic, real quick, I mean, what is there? What Instagram profiles do you find yourself like, kind of, like always looking forward to seeing different posts from? And we've talked about Kelvin and Reed and Brady and some of those other ones in name, but like an Al. But is there anybody else that, especially with cup cards, that you're like, ooh, okay, this is
Yeah,
pretty sweet.
I would say probably the one I get the most excited about is Ovechkin, the Great Eight.
Mm,
So he has, in my opinion, maybe the best modern hockey collection on the planet, and
nice.
he his collection of 0506 Cup cards is like insane. Right now, he's posting all the Titleist cards. So that's a set that they put out for a couple years. So I have this one right now. This is Mike Bossy. And these cards, they started in 0506 the Cup. In 0506, they were just jersey swatches like this, and then after that, they made them patches. But some of them, there's no mem, and it's just a foil cup. But I remember that of how many Stanley Cups the player won. So Mike Bossy won 4 straight cups in the early 80s with the Islanders. So this card's numbered out of 4. But their cards are like impossible to find. Like you can't, like there's 0 on eBay right now. And there was like a Magic Johnson exquisite Titleist out of 6 just sold for like 55 grand.
Jeez. Wow, that's big time money right there for a card.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
So the Titleists, I think, in hockey, like most people don't even know they exist because Anthony has almost all of them.
There's the and again the acetate cards and the autographs. I mean, they have a place in every collection. I think if you're a player collector, but I would take a cup design with those 3 guys on it, especially a booklet card that would display so beautifully. But you're right. I'm really surprised. Like SP Authentic didn't do a triple auto, or even that year in 09-10 they had the enshrinements triple autos, and it's Brodeur, Patrick Waugh, and some guy named Marc-Andre Fleury instead of Hasek. So that's, I mean, my dream card right now is that card. But I got to be honest with you, I'm surprised it wasn't Hasek instead, because I think it makes more sense. So it's interesting. Yeah, maybe they just couldn't get them lined up schedule wise or something. But it seems odd that there's none.
I believe they have a triple sign of the times, but unfortunately it's stickers.
Oh,
I know that in the most recent Chronology product, they had a quad autograph with, I want to say Grant Fuhrer. Could be wrong, but those are also stickers. In terms of long card autos, this is only the second one that they've ever put out. So I'd love to own it. I don't know if you're aware of this, but there was a card that I wanted so bad that ended a couple of days ago. It was a Brodeur Waugh dual auto patch from 05 or 0405 Ultimate. They're numbered out of 10. And that's a card I wanted for my Brodeur collection when I collected him. Like, that was probably the top of the want list. Mm-hmm. And so I finally saw it, and I figured, okay, I might make like a crazy bid on this card. I talked to Calvin. He's like, yeah, maybe it'll even go for like $1,000. And I was like, you know what? I want this card so bad. I'll make that happen. And then it ended up going for $1,800, which to me is an insane sale. But so that sale makes me really nervous and thinking that I probably won't get the triple autograph, because I guess the demand for those combos is so high right now.
It's got to be a really interesting game to play, in essence, to try to find where that amount you're willing to go is. I think obviously we've always had different tiers. There's a card, and I want to bring it up because I bring it up every time we talk. What is that one? Well, never mind. We're going to get to it at the end. My apologies, because I just want to make sure you have a chance to mention the card, because every time you mention it, you never know. There could be that one guy who has it, who sees this episode and goes, all right, I know where this card's going to go. So we'll get to that later. We just showed the trilogy card, and you mentioned some card, the Ultimate Collection, which is great. What other, do you have some examples of some other sets that you have enjoyed, like maybe passively gathering some cards from, other than, the cup?
Yeah, so there's a couple. I mean, I would say Ultimate's definitely my favorite product that's not the cup. So one set that I would say more than passively trying to put together is the 0405 patch autos from Ultimate. And this is the same product that the Brodeur and Waugh came from, like I was just talking about, but there's a dual version out of 10. So I really wanted, I'm not trying to collect the duels, but I really wanted that card. So this is a Gretzky. There's actually 2 Gretzkys. I have the other one, but I didn't pull it out. The other one's an All-Star one. This is a Kings one. And then here's a Hasek. Hasek's one of my favorite players to collect. So super happy with this one. Really nice 4-color patch there. So that's a set that I'm about 10 cards away from finishing. And then another set I'm collecting more passively is the 0506 Ultimate premium patches. So these are all numbered out of 35. So I'll show you a couple of my favorites. So here's Patrick Waugh.
I remember when you got that card, man. Holy smokes.
Yeah. So
Wow.
this card actually is the reason that I put it together. I remember when 0506 Ultimate came out, and I went to my LCS at the time, and I actually saw a guy open a box of it, and he pulled this Patrick Waugh, not this exact copy, but he pulled
Right.
a very similar copy. And I remember staring at that thing, just thinking like, wow, like that's one of the coolest cards I've ever seen. So when this one got put on eBay, I just scooped it up instantly. I was so happy to have it, like that, and that was just pure nostalgia. And then I was like, I want more. I already had this one. Was definitely the most valuable one. Was the rookie year Ovechkin with a really nice, uh, four, maybe 5 color patch if you want to call a silver different from white. But
Yeah.
it's super nice design. I
Wow.
mean, you get the full body shot. I think it's just a super clean design. So super happy with that one. And then this one is the most recent one I picked up. Actually, it's a lie. I got one yesterday, but before that one, I got this Steve Eisenman with the wing.
Wow. Look at the depth and like the patch itself, the rainbow foil. I mean, there's a lot to love about those cards and that design.
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful set. And then I would say the last one that I pick up when I can, I don't have any intention of finishing this set, is the 11-12 Panini Dominion Peerless patches. So I'll show these because I know that these guys are in the room. So this one's for Trevor. It's my Steven Stamkos.
Beautiful. That is a heck of a patch. I don't think you're going to find much of a better patch other than like maybe the lightning bolt, but I don't think that would look as nice, would it?
Yeah, so that one's super sick. And then this one's for Al. This is my Ginla from that set.
Oof.
So
Okay, now what's that patch from?
So that's the shoulder patch with the Alberta flag. So Al
Okay.
actually told me that this is supposed to be a wheat field, and he showed me a picture of the actual flag of Alberta, where it looks a
Yeah.
lot more like a wheat field than on this patch.
Okay.
But it's part of the flag of Alberta. So I mean, it's a super cool patch. And then this was Mario Lemieux, so hard to go wrong with that one.
Is that, hold on a second, that looks like one of those retro style jerseys. Was he still on the team then?
So I've talked to a couple people that have this card, and we believe this is from an alumni game because it is.
Okay.
Yeah, because he never wore this as a player. So unfortunately, Panini didn't specify that on the back. It just says this game worn material and autograph are guaranteed by Panini. And little things like that are why I try to kind of avoid Panini cards because that seems to kind of be their trend with disclosing memorabilia, which I do not like.
Well, at least it's game use, because nowadays it would be like, this is not from any specific event or game
Yeah.
or anything, which is like, no thanks. No thanks. Yeah. So yeah, this is a couple of things here. Trevor. And yeah, name was right on that with Berta, and Al was on that. Yep. Exactly. Alberta field flag. All right, cool. Yeah, those are great. I'm glad that you started putting that set together. It was definitely one that I grabbed the flurry and I was like, oh, this is going to be a nice card. When I got it in hand, I'm like, oh, this is beautifully designed. And that's definitely better than the following year Fearless patch design, because the patch is smaller on that one, and kind of the design is a little wonky on it. So awesome. Very, very cool. So again, you mentioned Hasek. I'm curious, if you were to have to be told, like, all right, you can't collect a set this year and you have to collect only a player, would he be the guy that you would collect?
It's interesting because I actually do have an active player collection of a player, and it's Alexander Barkov, who's my favorite current Panther. I pretty much never post any of my Barkov cards, but I mean, I have all of his top rookies, so I don't really feel like I need that many more of his cards. So if it's like a really high end rare card and the price is good, I'll pick it up. But I've kind of stopped buying for the most part, unless there's like one or two cards that I'd love to have of his that I don't have. But
which two cards are you missing still that you'd like to have?
One of them is his rookie year Foundations patch auto at a 5. And then the other one is his It's the National Treasures Colossal Auto Patch. Oh,
Okay,
5.
nice. Those would be sweet.
Yeah.
So do you I mean, does that kind of fulfill the player collecting side of the hobby for you, collecting his cards? Because he can't be that expensive as compared to maybe like a Stamkos or obviously Hasek or Waugh or something, right?
Yeah, I mean, last year there was a point where Barkov stuff was getting kind of expensive. Like right around the time where we like clinched the President's Trophy, and people thought he might captain a cup team, myself included. So I think his cards this year are way down. Now the Panthers aren't even really a playoff team right now. But I don't get as excited about Barkov cards as I do about certain players that I don't PC them, but I guess I go after them harder than I do other players. So Hasek's definitely one of them. Mike Bossy's another one. Phil Esposito. Sometimes still Martin Brodeur if it's like a very narrow range of cards. Patrick Waugh. And John Beliveau.
Awesome. That's very well. Speaking, if my memory serves me right, isn't there I was hoping to see a certain card. I don't know if the viewers have a request of a card to see, but isn't there a Beliveau card that you have handy there? Am I thinking of the right card? That is him, isn't it?
I do. So I did pick this card up recently. This is an 0506 Cup scripted swatches of John Beliveau. It's one of his only Cup patch autos.
Wow.
And then another thing I've mentioned to you is that the number one card on my entire want list for like the last decade is his honorable numbers from 0506 Cup, which I've never seen a copy of. But if one came out, I would do. I don't even know how to
Yeah. Well, I think
one.
that's going to answer one of the questions in my. Oh yeah, yes. Al would like to see this card.
Oh, that one. I do have it. Yes.
And that's another recent one that came in, which is really exciting. Man, look at that.
This one I opened the package from it yesterday. This came from Stefan Perot, who has one of the coolest cup collections out there. But this is a card that I knew existed. I didn't know where any of the copies were, so I never really anticipated owning one. And then he showed it to me. I tried to kind of play it cool because he was actually after one of my cards, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that Esposito looks cool." And then we made a trade for it. It was a card I had a double of, so I was like so excited to get that one.
Sweet.
I feel like I'm the only guy who like really gets excited about Phil Esposito cards, and I don't really understand why. Because to me, he is one of the most accomplished and greatest players ever. He pretty much accomplished everything there is to do in the NHL. But I mean, good for me because I can pick up his cards for very low prices. So happy about that.
Isn't that amazing how this hobby works sometimes? Like I see some of the prices certain cards go for, and I go, man, like you're gonna pay double for that guy, but the Phil Esposito has done all these things beyond this player, and yet you're paying double. And so again, that's why I kind of asked that question earlier about like new shiny cup release. I wonder if some cards, if people are not thinking about the new cup release, they're going to be listing some cards thinking, oh, here we go. I'm going to throw them up on eBay and they go for lower, which is not good for the seller, of course, but for the buyer, that's something that we will always be excited about, getting a cup card for a good price. Have you noticed, I guess I'll end with this before we kind of get into the questionnaire here. Have you noticed that that the cup, because of the cup cards, people tend to, especially if they're new at selling, like they haven't sold a lot, they tend to ask really high prices for cards from the cup all the time? I mean, is that just a base knowledge of it being the most expensive set? And I'm asking this because you had that one discussion with that one person about that Jerome card that you were trying to buy, and like taking it back to like, this is what a box cost back then, this is what a box costs now. Do you think that's just par for the course, seeing people like, oh, I'm going to sell my Marc-Andre Fleury Cup card, the last one sold for $150, I'm selling mine for $400? Do you think that is just something that's going to always happen with cup cards?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're a new collector, it doesn't seem like an erroneous path of logic where, okay, if the cup is the best and most expensive and high end set, then the cards from the cup should be much more expensive than cards from other sets. Um, in practice, this isn't generally the case outside of rookies and outside of like limited logos. But you know, so the example you're talking about, a guy wanted $500 for this Jerome McGinley signature patches for the set I'm building, and I showed him comps that were between $50 and $100, and his justification was, well, the price of a box is like several $1,000s, which isn't really fair because you can't really even buy a box of 0607 the cup. So to compare it to the box price doesn't really make any sense to me. But he was insistent that $500 is a fair price. He's talked about book value, which I haven't really heard people seriously reference that in over a decade. Back in the day, everyone that was kind of the Bible, was the book value. People would read whatever it said in there, that was the value price. But I mean, I haven't really seen that in a long time. So this guy, he wanted $500. He wasn't going to budge. I eventually found that card last month for $70. So I think people are newer to the hobby. They see the cup, they think it's going to be some super high end thing, no matter what. I think a lot of people that don't actually collect the cup would be surprised to see how many cup cards are actually relatively affordable. I think the cup is more approachable than a lot of people think, as long as you're not collecting top rookies or the greatest players ever. The cards are actually pretty reasonable. You can buy cup. This is a true sentence. You can buy cup patch autos of Hall of Famers for $50, which sounds like it sounds crazy, but you can support this with a bunch of comps. So I would implore a lot of people that might be intimidated from buying any cards from the cup, to actually look into it and see like what the cards are actually selling for, because a lot of them are really not some exorbitant price. Like, I'm not a rich guy, so I've still been able to collect. I have the benefit of having like 2 decades of a head start, and they used to be way cheaper than they are now. But I would encourage people still, because they're still approachable. A lot of cards can fit into most card budgets.
Yep, that's great piece of advice, and something that when I was just collecting goalies, I noticed. I'm like, wow, this is awesome. Like, I can grab a patch auto of David Abisher from your favorite set, and it's got a beautiful patch in it, and I think it was $35. I'm like, this is an awesome. Like, I have one card that I really love of him that's got an autograph, and that's it. That's all I need. Like, you can really find some affordable, beautiful cards out there. And again, if anybody watching is curious, feel free to go hit up Mitch on Instagram, Gropman Cards. He's more than happy to answer any questions. And then at the very end, I will show the Facebook group if anybody would like to go join that and ask some questions and post some stuff. Before we go, Trevor has one more request, and maybe you have an example there. He would like to know some non-patch sets that you appreciate and collect. Are there any like just autograph sets or parallels or anything like that you fancy?
So I don't actively collect any non-patch sets besides the exquisite set that I showed you earlier. I did bring a bunch of cards that are not from the cup. Let me see. So like, here's one that like I have no intention of building the set, but it's not a patch card per se. And I've shown this card off before. This is by Terry Sawchuk, Supreme Sticks. I got this from our friend Jeremy, and it's one of my favorite cards that I have. He has very few memorabilia cards in licensed Upper Deck products. So this one's one of my favorites because it actually is like, if you actually had a Terry Sawchuk stick, it would say Littman's Toolshed, Detroit, Michigan. They were the people that prepared Detroit's memorabilia at the time. And I know that this is actually from the earlier part of Terry Sawchuk's career, because they switched to Olympia in 1968. So to me, that makes it even cooler to have this card. I can actually narrow it to a 7-year range. he used it, and I know he actually used it during his time with the Red Wings because
Right.
he played for a number of teams in his career. So that's one I love. Here's one that I really like. This is 0809 SP Authentic Marks of Distinction. This is Gordie Howe. I just think this design is awesome. I think marks of distinction in general usually have pretty good designs. But this one I really liked. So I picked this one up, even though I don't really collect just plain autograph cards. Sometimes there's exceptions, and I just find a card I think is really cool. Here's another Gordie Howe card that I actually picked up at the last expo. So this is an 0607 Black Diamond gold parallel out of 10. I just thought that the design was super cool and super limited, and it's a great picture of Gordie, and the price is good, so I was very happy to pick this card up. So in terms of designs or sets that I don't actually have cards from that I really appreciate, I would say the Black Diamond Run for the Cup cards out of 100 are beautiful.
Yes, they
I
are.
don't own any of those. I think Bowman's Best Atomic Refractors are really, really cool. If you've never held one, they look awesome. I don't think pictures really do them justice. I actually do have a Grant Fuhr from that set jersey number. I didn't pull it out, but I think those cards are super cool looking. And the color coded from the cup I actually really like.
Color coded, nice. Yeah, those are. Having seen one, I actually ended up not keeping it because I really wanted them to get gold pen auto, the Golden Knights. It would have looked so good, but just like the silver pen on black, it didn't really do too much. But it helped me get my dream card of Marc-Andre, so it worked out great. But yeah, those are some really cool ones that you brought up there. Al, I just wanted to say this before we get to the questionnaire, but. Yeah, that's that's awesome. Yeah, that secondary account that you got going on there, holy smokes, that's some heavy stuff on there. And again, I think it's really cool when you post on there because you talk about the history of the card or the player or both. I think that's awesome. And what Al talked about on his interview with me last week is just how much he appreciates the history behind the cards and the history of the player. And so yeah, definitely look forward to seeing more of that. All right, let's hop into the questionnaire here before we wrap it up. So I'm going to change this first question a little bit for you because being a set collector mainly, what is the best set from Upper Deck in your opinion?
Can you define best? Do you mean my favorite?
I mean, yeah, you tell me. You can do this. You can answer this any way you want.
I mean, I don't think it's a secret that my all-time favorite cup set or set in general happens to be a cup set is 0506 the Cup signature patches.
Right.
I do want to give a shout out to some sets that I don't collect that I think are beautiful. 0304 Topps Pristine, I think, is one of the most aesthetically good looking sets ever. So yeah, that's my complete set. And for people that may not know, the reason I picked the signature patches is because we actually tried to do the limited logos first because obviously the patches are bigger and they're rare. But most of them, for people that don't know, have bubbly or signatures that look terrible. So
right.
The signature patches did not have that problem, and they had just as big of a checklist. The honorable numbers I didn't think was worth trying because there is a 1 of 1. There's actually 3 1 of 1s.
Okay.
So I wanted to actually be able to finish it. I didn't think it was realistic to try to finish a set with 1 of 1s. So that's why I did the signature patches instead of the limited logos and the honorable numbers. There's also emblems of endorsement because they're stickers. So those were out too. So to me, for all those reasons, the signature patches were the best set to do. And I just think the design is so cool. I mean, I really actually love the design of them. And then obviously I have a huge connection to them because I built this set with my dad. And it was something that really we enjoyed doing together. People have asked me this before. My dad doesn't really collect anymore. He hasn't for like 12 years. So everything that everything that I've bought in the last decade plus is mine.
Right. Did when you finished the set, did he get a little excited still? Like, was he pretty happy to see that you had finished it when you did?
Yeah, he was really excited about it. And even still, like he'll send me listings, but when new ones come up, he's like, "Is this an upgrade?" Like
Yeah.
he's still into it for sure. Like I know he'd be
Awesome.
really upset if I sold it, which I have no
Yeah.
intention of getting rid of it. But and then so that's what I really like. I said 0304 Topps Pristine. I think
Yep.
that's one of the most beautiful sets ever made. I guess you just asked favorite set, so I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. Perfect. All right. Yeah, because these are a bit quicker. I know we could easily just like expand on all these, but the next one is, and we've covered this already, but feel free to go for it again. Name one card that your collection needs.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the 0506 Jean Beliveau honorable numbers out of 4. If anyone even has a picture of it, I'd love just to see a picture. Um, I want that card so bad. I love John Beliveau. For those that don't know, as a kid, I watched every single Cup game that's ever been televised, and John Beliveau was in a ton of them. And I always just thought like he looked so much better than everyone else. I really think, in my opinion, he's the greatest tab ever, even better than Richard and Lafleur, which is kind of a hot take. Yeah, Topps Pristine is so
Yeah.
nice. For those that don't know what those cards look like, check them out. They're so cool.
Gold
But
refractors are it, man. Those gold
yeah,
refractors are just they're
they're
perfect.
so nice. But yeah, Jean Beliveau, I mean, he has so few cards that I think that's probably one of his best modern cards. I'd love to have that card.
Okay, perfect. Well, I've said this before. I hope that day happens sooner than later, and I that needs to be a live Instagram event when that thing arrives safely.
Yeah.
Like, I hope you get to like meet like somebody related to him to get the card or something. Like
Dude,
that would make it even
that's
cooler.
probably the only card I would like fly to the person to get it.
Yeah, that's so cool.
I know
Well,
for you, it's
yeah.
the Flurry Flawless, right? Or no,
The diamond is up there, but honestly, I think to fly somewhere to get a card. I mean, if Kendall told me he was selling one of his shields, I would probably find a way to go and meet him. But if somebody had the triple Brodeur Roy Fleury autograph from
yeah.
0910, the enshrinement, I'd do a lot to make sure I got that card. I had a chance 2 years ago, and I wasn't spending over $1,000 on cards at the time, so I passed on it, and so now I have to wait. But yeah, we learn our lessons that way. And you kind of mentioned this. What was the name of that account that you say you look forward to seeing posts from? The like one that you look forward to seeing posts from
Yeah,
the most?
that's a Ovechkin the Great 8.
All right, that's right. Yep. Ovechkin, the grade 8. Here it is. And this, yep, always good to give people shout outs on Instagram. Some of these collections are next level. And it's just, yeah, holy smokes. I don't even know if he's got I think he must have the Flurry because at the time the Flurry came out, it was a 101. And I know that
He
Kendall's got
probably
the
has
proof.
it. He probably has
Yeah.
it. If he doesn't have it, then it might be in a box or something. I know he has almost a complete set, which is crazy.
And what's cool too is seeing he's not just posting, straight fire. He's showing some love to cards like this too. So it's
Those are all jersey number 2.
oh, are they? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well that makes it even more impressive. But yeah, anyway, beautiful cards, amazing account. Chimney. That's impressive. Look at how gorgeous that card is. The picture with like the black and white designer sepia, if you want to call it that. It's just, I love the aesthetic that it adds to these cards. Very cool. All right, next up, card you miss the most.
I probably my I had a John Beliveau from this set.
Did you?
Yeah, a long time ago, before I even like thought it was a special set. I mean, I knew it was like rare, but before I like really cared about it, I traded it, but I very much regret it.
And what is that out of 6, 5?
No, the Beliveau is out of 9 or 11.
Okay.
He has 11 rings. I think
Okay.
it might be out of 11.
Well, hopefully you can find. Ovechkin the Great doesn't have that card, does he? That would be kind of
No,
crazy.
he doesn't have it. He just hasn't posted it yet.
Okay.
I could probably ask him for a picture today if I wanted to.
Oh, that would be neat just to see what picture they used.
Yeah.
How do you like? In what way do you find yourself enjoying your collection the most? Like, when you spend time just with your cards or on Instagram, or how do you find yourself just enjoying what you've gathered all these years?
Um, Honestly, sometimes I'll just take out a box and I'll go through the cards and I'll be like, wow, I can't believe I have that card. Like probably recently, the card I've been doing that with the most, this card is the 0607 Patrick Waugh Cup 101 patch auto.
Yeah.
This card, every time I grab it, I'm like, wow, I cannot believe I have that card. That's the first year that the 101 auto patch parallels were on card. So to me, that makes them very special because 0506 they were stickers. And I love the design of them, the full body shot there. I mean, I
Right.
think they're absolutely stunning cards. That's a card as a kid that I just would have dreamed about owning. So I still can't really even believe I have that card.
And that was a pretty cool story too, knowing that it wasn't just like there it is on eBay, buy it. You had to kind of jump through some hoops
Yeah.
but it ended up working out too, right? Because the credit that you got from that, weren't you able to purchase something else for a little bit cheaper than you would have normally had to pay? So it ended up kind of working out at the end, which was really nice. All right, this is a good one. I really like this question. Again, I'm excited to hear all these answers from everybody. But what piece of advice would you give to a new or young collector getting into the hobby?
I would say I would caution them, a lot from buying into hype. Um, you know, don't just do something because everyone else is doing it. I see that a lot. People are, they buy young guns because everyone else is buying young guns, not necessarily because they think those are the coolest cards. If you actually love those cards, then that's awesome too. But actually, like, take a lot of time to think about what it is about a card, like what qualities would a card need to have for you to want them the most. Even like ranking them and then kind of doing a lot of research, asking a lot of questions, like what is, like what's the best way to get cards that kind of fit this description, or what is a set that kind of checks all these boxes, and kind of searching for that instead of just like, I mean, if you're just in it for money, then then you can just, whatever's going to be the best for a quick flip. But if you actually enjoy the process of collecting, think about like what would make you be happy with a collection, and then strive towards that. Would be my advice.
I have to ask if you had this similar experience to me when it came to that exact thing you said. Like when you look at your collection, you're really happy. When you made the decision to put the 0506 signature patches set together and then focus your collection a little bit more, do you feel like that's when you got to that point where you really are the happiest now with what you're collecting?
Yeah, I would say the more I focus my collection, the happier I am with it.
Okay.
I think even like 4 years ago, I was way less focused with my collection. I was buying a lot of cards that were not from the cup. I just thought they were cool, and it felt good, to get it in the mail. But then it was just kind of like, oh yeah, that's a cool card I have. And recently I've been kind of selling off these cards, and I realized I don't actually really care about them, even though they're kind of like big cards. Like I had this Evgeny Malkin 1 of 1 from the cup. That's the top 10 picks card, and I just thought it was an awesome card, so I bought it. But then every time I looked at it, I was like, this doesn't really fit in my collection,
Right.
and so I sold it for like more than twice what I paid for it. So I was like super happy about it. But I put it on eBay, which I never do, just because I was like, I'll feel better if I can just have the money, put that into cards that I actually want to be in my collection.
Right. Awesome. Well, I'm excited to kind of continue down that path, because when Kelvin comes on this weekend, he's going to talk about how he's focused even closer to just a few select cards, more or less, as opposed to really collecting everything. So, great piece of advice. Thank you for that, Mitch. What's your biggest pet peeve in the hobby right now? hard to pick one, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I guess on a personal level, people that are, and this sounds, I mean, just saying it out loud, it sounds kind of like childish maybe, but when people aren't just nice by default, it really drives me crazy. Like if we don't know each other, like your default should be kindness. And when some people like you approach them, they're just very cold or rude or mean. And if I approach you and you're like that, I'm probably just never going to deal with you again. And I'm kind of petty in that way, where I have no problem deciding that I will never do a deal with you if you are disrespectful or something like that.
Right. No, and that kind of goes to a piece of advice for new or young collectors, like being cordial in your questions and your dealings with other collectors. You always want to try to approach it that way, because I love when you meet somebody new and that's how it goes, and you add this card and you're like, wow, like what a neat story. You give them a shout out on Instagram or Facebook, and it's really cool to establish those new connections in the hobby because people are being respectful with one another. So that's huge. I agree on that. All right, so think about where your collection is at right now, and then think about 5 years down the road. What do you think? What do you think your collection is going to be like? What do you want it to look like in 5 years?
In 5 years, I hope it'll just kind of be what it is now, but like on steroids. Kind of like the best way I can put it. Just like more Grail level cards in my collection. Cards that right now to me seem like cards that I'll never attain, and maybe I won't. But there's enough of those cards that maybe I can get a couple of them. And over a 5-year timeline, if I can get 2 a year, that would be awesome. I mean, maybe that's too many. Maybe 1 a year.
That's a reasonable goal.
Last year was too good, so I got too many awesome cards last year. So
it finished on such a high. You got like so many at that last quarter of the year. It was nuts.
I have to temper my expectations. Maybe if the economy gets a little bit worse, they'll pop up more.
That would be interesting to see if that does happen. But yeah, well, hopefully in the next 5 years you have that bell of honorable numbers in your collection too. That would be pretty sweet. All right. So when people happen upon your Instagram, maybe for the first time or first few times, or see your collection on Facebook in that cup group or whatever, how do you want people to view you and your collection when they see it for the first few times?
I want them to think that I'm someone who, I guess I want them to feel like I put a great amount of care into the cards that I put into my collection. I mean, one of my, I have a rule that I won't buy a card if there's more than 100 of them. And because to me, all the fun or most of the fun that I get from collecting is from the chase. And so if a card's available every day, then to me, there's just no fun at all in picking up those cards, because anyone can buy them any day. Like, I see some people who have collections dollar wise that might be worth a lot more than mine. They just have stacks of Ovechkin Young Guns. Like, you got to think, like, after the 10th Young Gun, it's the exact same card. Like, what is it that is exciting you about getting your 10th copy of this card, of which there's several thousand?
Yeah.
So, not to, I don't want to demonize the way that other people collect, but I personally just struggle to understand where that excitement comes from if we're not just in it for the money. So for me, like when I see another page and I see a card that you almost never see, that is really exciting for me. So I hope that other people can get excited by finding cards that they haven't seen before, because the cards I collect are naturally very scarce. So that's I guess that's what I would want to imprint on people that come to me.
That's awesome. Yeah, I agree. There's something about finding cards that either have the print run that is really low, or that there's, like a blank back from O-Pee-Chee. Those are so much fun to track down because nobody knows how many there are, and they're almost impossible to find. So I'm with you on that. All right, I'm gonna change number 10 because originally it was what's your favorite thing about Marc-Andre Fleury, but I'm gonna selfishly change it to out of all the cup cards that I've put up of Fleury, and I don't have them all, of course. There's some really, really rare ones out there, but which one, either design wise or just like because of the rarity, which Marc-Andre Fleury cup card do you find yourself thinking like, hey, you know what? I think I might like a copy of that someday. Is there anyone that comes to mind?
Um, so I would say in your personal collection, the cup card
Yeah.
that I like the most is his 10-11 limited logos.
Yes. Okay. I'll see if I can. I don't know if I can bring it up quick enough. I probably can't, but I will give it a shot here.
Yeah, I really like
Uh,
that design. I actually don't own a single card from 10-11 limited logos anyway. But I think a lot of them are really sharp, and I think the Flurry one especially looks really nice.
I believe I have the correct card here. This one.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, because yours
Okay.
has the penguin eye, which is so nice. I mean, I love that card. I would have no problem putting that card in my collection
Mhm.
and really treasuring it. I actually don't even own a Marc Andre Fleury Cup card.
I want to help you find which one is it that you're kind of passively just building the set. You just showed it not too long ago. I know that he has one. Oh, the not cup, but the Panini
Oh, the
Fearless
Fearless
patch.
package.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely would like to help you find them because I know most of them are actually really nice patches. So I will be on the lookout for that. But you know what? You and I have a bit of a connection with this card because you have upgraded some of your patches from your sets. And that's never really something. I had a really good one, and I was like, "Why do I want to buy one?" And you guys like, Matt, that card's so cheap. You just go buy it, and it ended up working out great because Chris, my buddy who collects Flurry, didn't have it, and the only other one he tried to buy was like a single white napkin. And I'm like, okay, I got to do this, and so traded it to him, got some cards I needed, and I was able to get that card. So yeah, it worked out perfect. All right, last thing, is there anything you'd like to ask me before we wrap things up, and then I'll show the Facebook group here too.
Hmm. I don't know. I mean, do you have is there a card like I have that you would say is your favorite?
Okay, there's a couple. The Sawchuk card, being a goalie fan, I nerd out about that card on multiple levels. Knowing that he for sure used it, hearing the history of his sticks and how they had that printing on there, they're so different from all the other goalie sticks. And having watched the movie they did about him, that card, every time you show it, I on many levels, like I said, I'm like, oh, I love this card. I'd like to see it. I'd like to learn more about it. I'd like to see the stick it came from. Where did the stick come from? How did they get it? Like, I keep going further and further with that. But as far as the cup goes, oh man, the Patrick Waugh card, I've envisioned the Marc-Andre Fleury. I know where it's at. I've seen it, but I just can envision like seeing that card in person. And that when you got that Patrick Waugh and then you didn't get it and then you did get it, like knowing the story behind it, that's probably my favorite one. Again, being a huge goalie fan and Fleury's idol, one of them was Waugh. Yeah, that's the one for me. I'm just glad that you got it, man, because that was a roller coaster of emotions for a lot of us that day and the days after. It was just like, guess what, guys? I got this huge steal. Never mind, I didn't. Oh wait, I still bought it. It's like, wait, what is going on?
That
Yeah,
was crazy. I'm happy I
yeah.
finally have it in hand.
Oh, for sure. Well, that's definitely untouchable, right? And you mentioned this too, which I find interesting. I don't tend to get like offers on my cards, but you mentioned people do. Obviously, with the cards that you have, they're very desirable by a lot of people. Have you had people come to you about the walk card, giving you offers
Yeah,
on it and stuff?
two huge wall collectors tried really hard to get it from me.
Wow.
Um, they like there were even a couple people that like posted on their Instagram story when the sale happened initially. They're like, who bought this? Because for those that don't know, it got listed by a consigner for $1,500 or best offer, and I knew that was too low, so I hit buy it now like maybe 90 seconds after it got listed because I'm someone that is constantly refreshing.
Yeah. I'm a shameless refresher too.
Yeah.
I know exactly how that is.
So I purchased it like instantly because I knew the price was too low. And then I got really excited about it. And then like the next day, they hadn't marked it shipped yet, so I was a little concerned. And then they tell me that we meant to list it for 4,500, and we're not going to take a $3,000 haircut on it, so we're going to cancel the sale. Sorry, here's a $200 credit. Um, and so I like dug deeper, and then my friend Frank Porco Sports Cards, actually found the owner and DM me. He's like, "Hey, here's a guy who's consigning it." And then I worked out a deal with him, so I didn't get it for the initial 1,500, but I got it for way less than the 4,500 he wanted. So we kind of worked out a deal that we were both happy with, and then I ended up with the card.
That's awesome, dude. Again, I think people can take some inspiration from your collection. A lot of your cards have stories, not just about the player or about it, the print run or the set, but like just the lengths that you've gone to get the cards and the connections that you've built amongst the community. I think you're very well respected, and people enjoy being able to help you out because they know that you, in a heartbeat, would step up and help them with any advice, or do you know a guy who has this card? And it definitely goes to show that building up those the community aspect and those connections is kind of a priceless thing, man. You got to take some pride in that. So you're setting a good example when it comes to that, for sure. And just to top it off, you've got your Facebook group here. I definitely want to show this before we wrap it up. For anybody that does not already know, Mitch created this group here, and I got to be honest with you, I still can't believe there wasn't one when you made this. I mean, you said that you made it. I go, wait, isn't there some groups out there already? And you said, nope. It was
Yeah,
pretty crazy.
So I made this only in December, so it's still a pretty new group. But we've grown. I feel like 356 members is pretty good, especially because it's all word of mouth. I don't really have any connections to any of the big Facebook groups, so it hasn't been advertised in those other Facebook groups.
Right.
So it's just a bunch of people that like, either they or their friends are really into the cup, and so it seems like for the amount of people in it, there's a lot of activity in there. And personally, like for me, as someone that mostly collects the cup, I always wished there was a group where I could just not have to sift through 1 in every 100 posts to find the types of cards that I wanted. So I thought there'd be enough other people that were passionate about cup cards that this would make sense. There's a one of one group, and so I figured, why can't there be a cup group? There's a few others. There's like a meta patches group. So to me, it made perfect sense. This is something that people would want, and it seems like it's pretty good for only being around for 3 months.
Oh, and it's about to pop off too. I'm really excited to watch, the posts come in about people picking up or getting a really nice card out of their box, and just, it seems like a very positive atmosphere. And that's my favorite thing about it. We all came in and we shared what we collect. And I mean, I don't know if this manifests itself because of this group solely, but seeing stories like this from Jonas, where he goes, I've been out of the hobby for a while. This was my dream card all these years ago. I came back. Here it is. Wanted to share it with you. And everybody's super pumped for him. Like, this is the kind of atmosphere that when I first got back into the hobby, that I enjoyed about the 90s baseball group. Now that group is like, 3,000 people deep, and it's just not very personable anymore. But it was like this when I first got in there, and it just makes me happy to see these type of interactions. So yeah, thank you for getting this going. And I hope this group continues to grow and stay, very personable and positive for this hobby, because we need that more than ever.
Yeah, thanks for saying that.
Yep, you bet. Well, Mitch, thank you so much for your time, man. It was great to talk to you again. It's been a little while. I know, but people have seen you on here in the roundtable, but I thought it would be fun to get you on here the day before the Cup. Now, you actually, if you want to give a little plug, you're going to go on one of the most helpful podcasts out there when it comes to hockey cards tomorrow, correct?
Yeah, so tomorrow we're dropping the first part of what they want to be a 3-part series of basically. So they have a masterclass series where they had 2 previously. So the first one was Sports Card Cartel did a masterclass on 80s Opishi cards, where he just kind of goes through all the sets and what's important about them and what are the nuances and things like that with each set. And then our friend Jeremy, who runs Sports Cards Live, he did one for Parkhurst. And then they came to me and asked me to do one for the Cup. But since the Cup is a lot more dense than the vintage cards are, and because there's just way more cards, we decided to break up the masterclass into 3 parts. So the one that's dropping tomorrow is going to be 0506, 06, 07, 07, 08, 08, 09, and 09, 10. Okay. And then part 2 is going to be 10, 11 up until 15, 16, so the McDavid rookie year. And then part 3 will be 16, 17 to present. And they said it, they're going to break it up where each one will come out for a couple months in between. So you might not see parts 2 and 3 for a while, but part 1 will drop tomorrow.
And you've already recorded all these episodes with them?
I've only recorded part 1.
Okay. Awesome. Did you show a lot of love to 0910 while you were covering that set? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, but that's going to be fun. It must have been really good for you and exciting to kind of go back through and cover everything in detail running up to 0910. That's going to be fun to listen to. And Hockey Card Gong Show, man, they've done an amazing job just keeping us updated on mega market deals and sales on eBay, sales off eBay. I mean, their content is, look how many followers. I think they've grown by almost 2,000 since I first found them. So yeah, great stuff here. Cool. All right, Mitch. Well, we look forward to hearing about that, and can't wait to have you back on here with a group of people, hopefully in the future. I know Al would love to sit here and chat with you, and he enjoyed showing off some of those non-Jerome cards for you to see. I know you love his Boston collection, so that was pretty cool to see that. But hope you have fun starting tomorrow, and thanks for everything you do for the hobby, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Matt. It's good talking to you.
Absolutely. All right, have a good night, everybody.